happy to share that in the 5 years that I've been coming to these panels in India and talking about Northern Lights, the project has been actually conceptualized, constructed, executed, and actually completely ready. So that's one of our flagship projects where we'll take third-party CO2 and sequester it. We are working closely with the government and the industrial players to try to get more of the companies to subscribe for this CO2 sequestration model. But it's easier said than done. And the key there, of course, is carbon pricing and government regulations. So in many ways, the technology is there. The companies like ourselves and our peers are ready to enable that CCS value chain. But we are kind of playing a bit of a chicken and egg, for lack of better words, on the regulatory piece of it. So that's where we could see some collective reform can certainly help industrialization of that value chain. But we are ready.
Excellent, excellent. Subhash, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on kind of these newer energies and how they're coming into the marketplace, particularly how they compare on the economics.
So I think that's a question which is often raised. I particularly feel that it's not difficult to come to a scenario where newer energy cost will be significantly lower. I talk of a couple of things. No? One, you look at the way solar has transformed the energy sector. We started with something like 15 rupees per unit. It has come down to 1.90. Even RTC today is available at lower than the cost generated through coal. But what I'll tell you, few principles actually, where country is so privilegedly placed that we can make lowest carbon footprint, cheapest energy available to our people. See, we have certain endowments. We are a large country. We are a large country in terms of population. We are smaller in terms of size. Our average density of population is 7 times or 8 times the world's density, which means our supply chains are 8 times more efficient and less costly compared to anywhere else in the world. Second thing, energy can be consumed either as molecules or as electrons. We do not have luxury of going into mindless conversions, right? You first convert molecules into electrons, then electrons back to molecules, transport that to Japan. I think we should consume these molecules and electrons at the first available opportunity. And my hint there is that your bioresidue potential, which is probably, again, another fascinating fact about this country is that global arable land is around, land area is around 12% average. India has 52% global arable land, which means the residue or biofuel potential in India is roughly 5 times, which actually helps build local disaggregated grids which are the most economically efficient and the least carbon footprint solutions. And with the existing supply chain of fossil fuels, we have seen it in case of ethanol. Brazil has taken 20-25 years to come to 20% of ethanol blending. India has taken just 5 years. If we if we play the game to our advantages, like let's say if we use our CGD entities infrastructure today well, scale the gas, it can actually, something which I also alluded to earlier, become a bigger source of promoting something like CBG and hydrogen, and it will be ultra green ecosystem with no extra investment, no threatened no requirement to retire the investment premature. So I think we are in an excellent position, and I believe that whatever is happening globally, a bit of sanity is getting restored. We had gone to one extreme. Anything and everything could be paraded as green. Today, actually, what is green has also to be viable. From that perspective, I think we are very privilegedly placed. We need to go back to the drawing table and work our strategy well. As a country, we have no issue. We have size, scale. We are the only place in the world whose energy requirement in 2050 will be 2.5 times, while the rest of world either stagnates or shrinks. Right. So I think exciting times as far as India is concerned, and good that certain disruptions are taking place elsewhere in the world, which sets direction for people to come back to the reality check is coming, and I think we can capitalize. It is India movement.
Excellent. All right. You mentioned kind of cost efficiencies. Part of that is obviously technology, right? So Oxbow, I wanted to come to you and talk a little bit about, where are you seeing kind of the impact of the digital transformation as we look at kind of AI-driven technology, predictive maintenance, optimization. Maybe you can talk a little bit about where you're seeing some gains there.
Yeah, so I think Mr. Subhash talked about the energy consumption. So probably we are today 1/10 of the what US consumes as a per capita about 0.67 MTOE. So which means that growth is given. It has to happen. Only thing is we have to expand our infrastructure sustainably and responsibly, and at the same time the operational efficiencies have to come in. So if these two factors have to play in, I think technology plays a very, very critical role. For example, I think the same case I'll pick up from Mr. Subhash. We talked about ethanol. We have about 19% blending we are doing. If you look at about 700 crore liter, that is about 7 billion liters of product moved across the country on roads for the ethanol. Now, if we were to actually optimize it, it's no case can be done manually. So therefore, the role of AI and technologies becomes more paramount, specifically to optimize and bring operational efficiency into the ecosystem. So therefore, I think what we are trying to now do is how do we, while we have taken a baby steps in terms of moving away from road transportation to rail transportation to pipeline transportation, but at the same time, whichever form of transportation or the operationals we are doing, the AI is playing bigger role in terms of how do we optimize, how do you place the product across the value chain, right from sourcing the product, looking at the refineries, how are we producing at different plants, how do I optimize my pressures and temperatures in the plant so that I'm able to get my pie of GRM into the refinery basket, and then going down to the supply chain, how do I place the product efficiently to ensure that I actually extract every cent out of the movement which I'm moving, and then when I come to the market, or when I'm storing it, how do I'm storing it? When I come to the market, I should know that where exactly the product is being moved and what is my consumer's preference. So if I know my consumers, where exactly he or she wants product, in what form, I think it's very critical, specifically when you have varied kind of fuels propositions available to the customer. For example, our retail team today offering flexi fuels to our consumers. Now, if I have to offer flexi fuels to my consumers, which outlet should have which form of product and what is traction from the consumer, I don't think in any ways it can be done manually. So therefore, I think the digital transformation, what we are trying, we have a centralized setup which is called Hello BPCL, which is our super app, which basically going forward will actually tell the consumer, if I am going to fill E85 or D85, where do I go and what price should I get it? So the different ecosystem will be available. That is on the customer standpoint. And similarly, we are deploying AI, video analytics and everything, even for safety use cases, where we have a centralized command control center in Delhi, where across the country, across different plants, be it the retail outlets, be it the terminals, be it the LPG plants, there are interlocks which are active. So any safety compromise can be immediately highlighted and flagged onto my command and control center, and I'm able to monitor it real-time basis. Similarly, all my tank lorries, the tankers which move on the road, about 10,000 odd tankers move on the road carrying hazardous product, they are absolutely linked to our command control center, where I'm actually able to monitor which tanker is moving where, and if there is any diversion to the route, defined route, there are interlocks available where we can raise the alarm. So bringing in a lot of efficiency and productivity into the ecosystem, and thereby can I be more competitive in the market as a player, or can I be more responsible pricing organization in the market so that the fuels become more affordable to the common man. So that's I think role AI or the ML is going to play in that.
Sanjay, I'm curious your thoughts. Are you seeing the same type of gains from automation, digitization?
Yeah, so basically all our companies, whether it is GAIL or Bharat Petroleum, Indian Oil, or for that matter Nayara, etc. We are all committed to serve the energy needs of our customer, and AI and ML is trying to help us to, you know, these AI and ML techniques, they are still evolving, and they are trying to help us still learn about the problem and then propose a solution for that. So typically in our case, you know, we've got these large technical equipments which are helping us in maintaining the pipeline supplies of gas, or in maintaining the production of petrochemicals, or production of LPG or liquid fuels from our different plants spread over the country. When we are, the first use of AI and ML that we are finding in our system is to properly collect the data that is available from these machineries and try and see a kind of trend, a kind of pattern, which makes makes an improvement in the schedule maintenance or in the predictive maintenance of these machineries, and we are making good progress in that respect. The second aspect is AI and ML is actually helping us in customer relationship management, as well as in commercial, commercial dealing, commercial transactions, commercial approval. For instance, many customers actually, they invite bid. Now these bid prices, they change based on the market. It's not necessary, you know, the product has to be priced based on the priceability. It's not based on the cost. Cost plus model is a primitive model, and for that priceability part we need AI and ML, which can go through the literature available, the information available in public domain, and find out what kind of offer competitors have, what kind of pricing is acceptable to the customer. These, while speaking, they may appear very simple, very, you know, baby-like thing, but actually they are very complex, and we are grappling with these problems day in, day out nowadays. In addition, in many cases, we are, you know, when we go to source LNG is the only business possibly which has to be mostly sourced for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, and most likely the supply will start after 4, 5 years or 3 years. So is there a model? Is it possible that we can predict what kind of gas consumption will be there, which all sectors, which all consumers in the country can possibly become a part of that gas demand which needs to be fulfilled? In addition, what kind of competition we are going to face? Now, this is a very subjective thing, and there is not much progress that we have made in this respect, but it's a part of large wish list which can be attained through AI and ML. So we are trying to use, and as such, the whole competition here, or everybody in this country, they are trying to use AI and ML in these 3-4 segments of our business.
Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, I often find the simple has the most impact. So I think you're right on target there. Subhash, I wanted to come back to you a little bit and maybe change the topic. Someone mentioned policy. I'm curious to hear, you know, what kind of strategy or policy measures you'd like to see from the government to kind of bridge that gap between the upstream production and the efficient kind of midstream transportation systems that we're talking about.
So, as far as India is concerned, it is producing significantly lower than what it is consuming, and already you are seeing certain decisions have been taken to bring in partners who have done it better than globally. So I think today government and the companies are not hesitant to experiment with something which can be demonstrated to work. And between midstream and upstream, I think there is perfect correlation already existing. I mean, the Indian energy system has performed extremely well over the years. In fact, I often quote the example that, you know, in terms of extreme situations, it is only the energy sector which seems to have worked. And one example is when there were floods in Chennai. An air ticket which cost around 5,000 was sold at 1,75,000, 35 times. But as far as the energy companies were concerned, thanks to our Midstream, IOC and others, what they did, gas cylinders were delivered free of cost at home. That's the kind of resilience and the contribution this sector has made, and there is a perfect correlation between the two. So that has never been in question, and government and companies are agile and aware of what is happening globally, and they are actually playing their cards extremely well, I must say. And so is the case with midstream and downstream companies, I must say.
Desikan, maybe you kick a step back a little bit in your experience and your role. You talked about Equinor and its strategy kind of globally. What are some of the lessons that you think can be applied to midstream development here in India?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I want to just not just agree with Subhash Kumar ji here, but all the same time even just express my admiration of how well the energy midstream, downstream, and the last mile infrastructure in India works, and the progressiveness of the policy that we see in India. It's amazing. I mean, never ever or nowhere else in the world I can see programs like Ujjwala succeed, taking LPG from 64% to 99% in a matter of years, and I think companies like BPCL and others are quite key to that. But from Equinor's midstream experience point of view, I think the key pieces where we have seen challenges in the past is where there's a disconnect fundamentally between the energy demand and the energy creation sources. And we saw that time and again when we played in the US shale play, for example. We saw that time and again where new demand centers and cities were created when China was booming. I think in many ways, if there's one experience that we can kind of bring to the table is the role of governments in enabling that midstream infrastructure a bit ahead of where you're seeing the demand forecasting, and especially important when we are going through transition fuels in a multi-fuel system. And I talked about CCS a little bit. I think, again, it's a very midstream heavy kind of a technology. Emerging fuels, which we talked about here, the next generation green fuels or blue fuels, they're again very midstream capex heavy technologies. So having the right infrastructure ready for them before these projects get their capex invested, I think that's going to be a key in our experience.
Excellent. All right, I'm conscious of time. We have a couple minutes left. I will throw one question out to the panel, and if you can give me kind of a quick 1 or 2 sentence answer. We're here in the Resilience Hall. So what is it going to take for to build kind of the resilient midstream portfolio of the future?
So I think the demand is there to stay, and energy security is non-negotiable. So plan to the scale, build modular, flexible, integrated, and enabled with technology on the basis of collaboration. I think that's the theme. If we move forward, probably the energy transition game can be played well and played to the advantage of the nation, so that it's a win-win proposition for all.
Excellent.
I think Akshay ji said it all. I don't need to say anything more, I guess. But I think the word resilience is quite meaningful in this context, and I think it's not coincidental you ask us this question. And I go back to where I started. In a way, the way we built this world around for the last 100 years was rocks first, consumption later, right? Let's get the oil out first, and then we'll figure out what to do with it. And that approach needs to change because the energy demand growth is happening in a completely different part of the world where the energy sources are not, I don't want to use the word not plentiful, but not prevalent, at least from the history. So trying to look at markets first, consumption centers first, and then build it a little bit more backwards, I think that's going to be the name of the game moving forward, where there's so much uncertainty ahead of us, both in terms of technology and geopolitics.
Sanjay, resilience.
I think our future is very bright. From 2050 onwards, we will have lots of renewable energy and we will have RTC. There is no problem. The journey from here to 2050 is important, and we need to collaborate to sort out our problems and make energy available during this transition. From next 25 years is the challenge, and this will help us to build the foundation for the coming centuries when it will be really very easy to live here. All energy needs will be met through greener and renewable energy.
Subhash.
So my take would be, have ears to the ground, discern the trends, build businesses in scale, which are in money, and build eventually a unique Indian transition model, which becomes an example to be followed globally.
Excellent. Well said. Well said. Please join me in thanking my panel for engaging discussion.